Next generation weather forecaster Joe Shock here, doing an event review of the severe weather outbreak that we saw yesterday afternoon here in the Northeast, which was very unusual for this time of the year and pretty much very unusual for this part of the country. So let's take a look at what happened here. So basically, what we had coming on synoptically, I'll set this up synoptically, is we had a big trough moving into the Northeast with some cold air. Now, the big question of the forecast over the last 2 days leading up to this was there going to be enough moisture able to carry this out? So now as we take a look at some of the model guides, this is the HRRR. Now the HRRR, the High-Res NAM, and the High-Res Canadian all had the same forecast, which was very, very good, very, very good agreement on this. But the question was, were all these models overdoing the storm coverage? So that made it a little bit tricky. You don't want to over forecast a severe weather event. But anyway, here's the HRRR forecast. You can see we had a weak area of showers that moved through early yesterday morning, which was correct. There you can see the line of thunderstorms that the model was beginning to develop 4 p.m. yesterday. Then here we are at 5 p.m. with this intense line of storms moving through, which brought the damaging wind. Here we are 6 p.m. as it pushes down into southeastern Massachusetts, producing, again, significant wind as it goes. And then here is the actual, and this is valid a few minutes before 3 o'clock. You can see the line begins to get going here in central New York State, becomes severe, but it actually really got going in southeast Canada, which you'll see towards the end as I loop the complete evolution of the system. But again, 3 severe thunderstorm warnings active, and then there's that front piece of rain moving through central New England at that time. So there's 3 p.m. And then here we are at 5:30, and then you can see all of these yellow boxes indicating severe thunderstorm warnings. And by this time, we had tremendous wind damage and tremendous power outages occurring at this time. So there's what the radar looks like. Now here's the Storm Prediction Center's forecast, marginal risk for severe thunderstorms yesterday afternoon. This was their mid-morning update, and you can see marginal risk wind probabilities were like this. And then you can see in the afternoon they upgraded a slight with additional model guidance coming on in, and then they upgraded their wind probability to 15%. Now, seeing what the forecast was and what actually happened, I would not be surprised if this was forecasted better by the SPC. And looking at how many wind reports happened, this probably would have been classified as a moderate risk and probably at a 45, if not 60% wind with some significant hatching either in the 45 or 60. This was a violent wind event that came through, no question about it. A very unusual and very rare for this part of the country. But again, there's their wind probabilities in their afternoon update. Now, looking at the synoptic pattern, you can see here very, very deep trough coming in here at 500 millibars, very cold temperatures aloft. Temperatures minus 22 to minus 24 Celsius, very, very cold. Very, very strong winds at this level, up around 100 knots, 90 to 100 knots or so. Moving down to 700 millibars, you can see pretty good moisture content in here. Relative humidity is greater than 70%. And you can see wind barbs here indicating winds were between 50 and almost 65 knots, 50 to 65 knots in through here. So there was a lot of wind moving through the mid-levels of the atmosphere that helped push this thing along and transfer a lot of that wind down with that squall line that moved through. Moving on to 0 to 6 kilometer shear, which you can see the shear at this time was very, very impressive. Upwards of 50, if not 60 knots, and even down here in Connecticut as high as 80 to 90 knots. So this was a highly sheared environment. And you can see here in northern New England where the shear was less, and you'll see at the end we didn't have any storm reports coming out of there, but the core of the storm reports resided in this area, 50 to 70 knot, maybe 80 knot bulk shear. So a very, very highly sheared environment despite having no surface instability. So the shear can make up for it if you have extreme amounts of shear like you see here. Now, mid-level lapse rates were also very steep. You can see mid-level lapse rates were between 6 and 7.5 Celsius per kilometer. So very, very steep mid and low-level lapse rates. Low levels were between 6 and 7, and this, as you can see, as high as 7.5. So that's the change with temperature with height, which is quite steep, and anything after 6 starts to get steep and can support severe thunderstorm activity. So you can see it was pretty steep at this time. Now, the duration and the path of this thing was, again, very, very long, and the mesoscale maintenance probability of this system holding together was quite high, over 90%. You can see the 90% contour here in northeast Pennsylvania. You can just trace that around the entire region where this thing traveled. So this thing had very, very high probabilities of surviving from the Great Lakes here, Lake Erie, all the way down to the Cape. So no surprise, given that parameter being as high as it is. Supercell composite, you can see we're quite high, up around 2 here as the line got offshore. So supercell composite was there as well. Now, the Storm Prediction Center did issue a mesoscale discussion. However, they did not issue a severe thunderstorm watch, which was very surprising given what was going on in New York State earlier in the day. But however, you can see here ahead of the cold front, damaging winds expected of 60 to 70 miles per hour through about 7 p.m. 23's in. They highlighted here eastern Massachusetts and eastern southern New England of where that would be occurring. Now here's the radar evolution, and you can see starting roughly just before 4 o'clock, the line exiting New York State, moving through the region. So very, very intense wind there with those Boeing segments. And you can see making all the way to the Cape and Nantucket. Very impressive. There is again coming out of Albany, New York, and I have another one coming up which goes out a little bit further. But a very, very impressive situation, to say the least, here for New England. Now, moving on to the other one, again, here is the GO 16, which goes back many hours. You can see the sun setting as well. The line developing here in New York State and then hauling through southern New England. Very impressive, with severe thunderstorm warnings through the entire event. Now, here are some of the wind reports that we've seen here, and there's just so many of them, I can't go through them all, but just to give you a sampling of what we saw. Worcester had a wind gust of 70. Fitchburg had a wind gust of 60. Orange had a wind gust of 50. Bedford, which here is in eastern Mass, had a wind gust of 52. Lawrence had a wind gust of 46. And in Essex County, we actually had the least amount of wind from this. And again, you'll see that in the wind reports. We have wind gusts between 35 and 45 miles an hour. And again, Lawrence 46. Logan, Boston, gust of 66. Norwood, a gust of 58. So you can see very, very widespread out. Plymouth, down in southeast Mass, wind gusts of 60. Now here are the storm reports, and you can see here, right from the Lake Erie here, this Great Lakes region, Lake Erie here, I believe, all the way across. Look at all those reports. 224 of them, with one high-end event, which was in Quincy, Mass, which got a wind gust to 82 at the Quincy Yacht Club. So very, very impressive situation that occurred here. And then here's a zoomed-in view. Again, right here, you can see as it started here, just to northwest of Syracuse, and traveled all the way across. Just incredible. Too many W's for me to count here in Massachusetts, but you get the idea. Incredible stuff. And you can see here in Essex County, no wind reports. Again, no wind reports of damage. That was because, again, the core of the wind was focused down through here. And that showed up very nicely in the wind reports that I just showed you there. Again, Lawrence gust of 46. No big wind tree damage that we know, but that could certainly change as damage continues to get evaluated. So this number may change a little bit more, may increase a little bit more today as storm damage continues. But overall, again, a very, very impressive wind event for this part of the country. And looking down the road, we could have some more interesting severe weather coming up this Saturday. Today is Thursday, 10/8. Yeah, 10/10. So we're going to have to take a look at Saturday, possibly some more severe weather. Now maybe focus a little bit further north here in New England. We'll have to watch that over the next day or so. Well, that's it for now, and thank you for watching.